Judges, chapter 21. Then the men of Israel had Gideon and all the people that were with him rose up early,
not any of us give his daughter unto Benjamin to wife.
So that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of God, by the hill abode there till even before God. And the Lord lifted up their voices and wept sore, and said,
The people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands.
Why has this come to pass in Israel, that there should be today one tribe lacking in Israel?
And it came to pass on the morrow that the people rose early and built there an altar and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. And the children of Israel said,
Who is there among all the tribes of Israel that came not up with the congregation unto the Lord?
10,000. For they had made a great oath concerning him that came not up to the Lord to Mizpah, saying,
Bring them down unto the water, and I will try them for thee there.
And the children of Israel repented them for Benjamin their brother, and said,
There is one tribe cut off from Israel this day. How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them of our daughters to wives?
And the Lord said unto Gideon, and they said,
Everyone that lappeth of the water with his tongue, as a dog lappeth,
that came not up to Mizpah to the Lord.
And behold, there came none to the camp from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For the people were numbered, and behold, there were none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead there, but all the rest of the congregation bowed down upon their knees, 12,000 men of the valiantest, and commanded them, saying,
By the 300
Go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the women and the children.
And
this is the thing that ye shall do. Ye shall utterly destroy every male and every woman that hath lain by man.
And their trumpets. And they found among the inhabitants of Israel every man 410 virgins, and retained that had known no man by line with any man. The host of Midian, and they brought them unto the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of pass the same night. And the whole congregation sent some to speak to the children of Benjamin that were in the rock rimmon, and to call peaceably unto them. And Benjamin came again at that time, and they gave them wives which they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Gilead, and yet so they sufficed them not.
And afterward shall
and the people repented them for Benjamin, because that the Lord had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. Then he went down with Phurah his servant. Then the elders of the congregation said that were in the host,
How shall we do for wives
and
for
the
them
Midianites
that
and the
remain,
Amalekites
seeing the women
and
are
all the
destroyed
children
out
of
of
the east
Benjamin?
lay along in the valley like grasshoppers for multitude.
There must be
and
an
their camels
inheritance
were without
for them that
number,
be
as
escaped
the
of
sand
Benjamin,
by the seaside
that a tribe be not destroyed out of Israel.
And when Gideon was come,
Howbeit,
behold, there
we may
was a
not
man
give them
that
wives
told
of
a
our
dream unto
daughters,
his fellow, and
for
said,
the children of Israel have sworn, saying, Cursed be he that giveth a wife to Benjamin.
Then they said,
Behold, there is a feast of the Lord in Shiloh yearly, in a place which is on the north side of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goeth up from Bethel to Shechem, and on the south of Lebanon.
Gideon the son of Joash,
Therefore they
a man
commanded
of
the children
Israel,
of Benjamin,
for
saying,
into his hand hath God delivered
and lie
Midian
and
and
wait
all
in the
the
vineyard,
host.
and see and behold,
And it was
the
so,
daughters of Shiloh
when Gideon
come
heard the
out to
telling of the
dance
dream
and dances,
and the interpretation
then come
thereof,
ye out of
that
the
he
vineyards
worshipped and
catch you
returned into the
every man
host of
his wife
Israel,
of the daughters
and
of
said,
Shiloh, and
Arise,
go to the land
for the
of
Lord
Benjamin.
hath delivered
And it
into
shall
your
be,
hand the
when their
host of
fathers or their
Midian.
brethren come unto us to complain,
And he divided
that we will
300
say
men
unto
into
them,
3 companies,
Be
and he put a
favorable
trumpet in
unto
every
them
man's
for our
hand,
sakes,
with empty
because
pitchers
we
and
reserve
lamps
not
within
to
the
each
pitchers.
man his wife in the
And
war.
he said unto them,
For ye did not
Look
give
on
unto them
me,
at this
and
time,
do
that ye
likewise.
should be guilty.
And behold, when I come to
And the children of
outside
Benjamin
the camp,
did so, and
it
took
shall
them
be
wives
that,
according
as
to their
I do,
number of
so
them
shall
that
ye
danced,
do.
whom they caught.
When I
And they
blow
went and
with the
returned unto their
trumpet,
inheritance,
I
and repaired
all
the
that are
cities, and
with
dwelt
me,
in them.
then blow ye
And the children of
trumpets
Israel
also
departed
on
thence
every
at that
side of
time,
all the
every
camp,
man to his
and say,
tribe and to his
The
family.
sword of the
And they went out
Lord
from
and
thence,
of
every man to his
Gideon.
inheritance.
In
so
those
Gideon
days there
and
was
the
no
100
king
men
in
that were
Israel.
with him.
Came
Every
unto
man
the
did
outside
that
of the
which was
camp
right
in the beginning
in his
of the
own
middle
eyes.
watch.
And they had but newly set the watch. And they blew the trumpets, and brake the pitchers that were in their hands. And the 3 companies blew the trumpets, and brake the pitchers, and held the lamps in their left hands, and the trumpets in their right hands to blow withal. And they cried,
The sword of the Lord and of Gideon!
And they stood every man in his place round about the camp. And all the host ran and cried and fled. And the 300 blew the trumpets, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow, even throughout all the host. And the host fled to Bethshittah and Zererath, and to the border of Abel-Meholah unto Tabbath. And the men of Israel gathered themselves together out of Naphtali, and out of Asher, and out of all Manasseh, and pursued after the Midianites. And Gideon sent messengers throughout all Mount Ephraim, saying,
Come down against the Midianites, and take before them the waters unto Bethbara and Jordan.
Then all the men of Ephraim gathered themselves together, and took the waters unto Bethbarab and Jordan. And they took 2 princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeeb. And they slew Oreb upon the rock Oreb, and Zeeb they slew at the winepress of Zeeb, and pursued Midian, and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeeb to Gideon on the other side Jordan. Judges, chapter 8. And the men of Ephraim said unto him,
Why hast thou served us thus, that thou callest us not when thou wentest to fight with the Midianites?
And they did chide with him sharply. And he said unto them,
What have I done now in comparison of you? Is not the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? God hath delivered into your hands the princes of Midian, Oreb, and Zeeb. And what was I able to do in comparison of you?
Then their anger was abated toward him, when he had said that. And Gideon came to Jordan, and passed over, he and the 300 men that were with him, faint, yet pursuing them. And he said unto the men of Succoth,
Give, I pray you, loaves of bread unto the people that follow me, for they be faint. And I am pursuing after Zebah and Zalmunna, kings of Midian.
And the princes of Succoth said,
Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in thine hand, that we should give bread unto thine army?
And Gideon said,
Therefore, when the Lord hath delivered Zebah and Zalmunna into mine hand, then I will tear your flesh with the thorns of the wilderness and with briars.
And he went up thence to Penuel, and spake unto them likewise. And the men of Penuel answered him as the men of Succoth had answered him. And he spake also unto the men of Penuel, saying,
When I come again in peace, I will break down this tower.
Now Zebah and Zalmunna were in Karkor, and their hosts with them, about 15,000 men, all that were left of all the hosts of the children of the east. For there fell 120,000 men that drew sword. And Gideon went up by the way of them that dwelt in tents on the east of Nobah and Jogbehah, and smote the host, for the host was secure. And when Zebah and Zalmunna fled, he pursued after them, and took the 2 kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and discomfited all the host. And Gideon the son of Joash returned from battle before the sun was up, and caught a young man of the men of Succoth, and inquired of him. And he described unto him the princes of Succoth, and the elders thereof, even 70 men. And he came unto the men of Succoth, and said,
Behold, Zebah and Zalmunna, with whom ye did upbraid me, saying, Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in thine hand, that we should give bread unto thy men that are weary?
And he took the elders of the city, and thorns of the wilderness, and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth. And he beat down the tower of Penuel, and slew the men of the city. Then said he unto Zebah and Zalmunna,
What manner of men were they whom ye slew at Tabor?
And they answered,
As thou art, so were they. Each one resembled the children of a king.
And he said,
They were my brethren, even the sons of my mother. As the Lord liveth, if ye had saved them alive, I would not slay you.
And he said unto Jether his firstborn,
Up and slay them.
But the youth drew not his sword, for he feared, because he was yet a youth. Then Zebah and Zalmunna said,
Rise thou and fall upon us, for as the man is, so is his strength.
And Gideon arose and slew Zebah and Zalmunna, and took away the ornaments that were on their camels' necks. Then the men of Israel said unto Gideon,
Rule thou over us, both thou and thy son's son also, for thou hast delivered us from the hand of Midian.
And Gideon said unto them,
I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you.
And Gideon said unto them,
I would desire a request of you, that ye would give me every man the earrings of his prey.
For they had golden earrings, because they were Ishmaelites. And they answered,
We will willingly give them.
And they spread a garment, and did cast therein every man the earrings of his prey. And the weight of the golden earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, beside ornaments and collars and purple raiment that was on the kings of Midian, and beside the chains that were about their camels' necks. And Gideon made an ephod thereof, and put it in his city, even in Ophrah. And all Israel went thither a-whoring after it, which thing became a snare unto Gideon and to his house. Thus was Midian subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted up their heads no more. And the country was in quietness 40 years in the days of Gideon. And Jerubbaal the son of Joash went and dwelt in his own house. And Gideon had 70 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives. And his concubine that was in Shechem, she also bare him a son, whose name he called Abimelech. And Gideon the son of Joash died in a good old age, and was buried in the sepulchre of Joash his father, in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. And it came to pass, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel turned again, and went a-whoring after Baalim, and made Baal-berith their god. And the children of Israel remembered not the Lord their God, who had delivered them out of the hands of all their enemies on every side. Neither showed they kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, namely Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had showed unto Israel. Judges chapter 9. And Abimelech the son of Jerubbaal went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren, and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying,
Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it is better for you either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you. Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh.
And his mother's brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words. And their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech. For they said,
He is our brother.
And they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal-berith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons which followed him. And he went unto his father's house at Ophrah, and slew his brethren the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons upon one stone. Notwithstanding, yet Jotham the youngest son of Jerubbaal was left, for he hid himself. And all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Millo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain of the pillar that was in Shechem. And when they told it to Jotham, he went and stood on the top of Mount Gerizim, and lifted up his voice, and cried, and said unto them,
Hearken unto me, ye men of Shechem, that God may hearken unto you. The trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them. And they said unto the olive tree, Reign thou over us. But the olive tree said unto them, Should I leave my fatness wherewith by me they honor God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? And the trees said to the fig tree, Come thou and reign over us. But the fig tree said unto them, Should I forsake my sweetness and my good fruit, and go to be promoted over the trees? Then said the trees unto the vine, Come thou and reign over us. And the vine said unto them, Should I leave my wine, which cheereth God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? Then said all the trees unto the bramble, Come thou and reign over us. And the bramble said unto the trees, If in truth ye anoint me king over you, then come and put your trust in my shadow. And if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon. Now therefore, if ye have done truly and sincerely in that ye have made Abimelech king, and if ye have dealt well with Jerubbaal and his house, and have done unto him according to the deserving of his hands, for my father fought for you, and adventured his life far, and delivered you out of the hand of Midian. And ye are risen up against my father's house this day, and have slain his sons, 70 persons, upon one stone, and have made Abimelech, the son of his maidservant, king over the men of Shechem, because he is your brother. If ye then have dealt truly and sincerely with Jerubbaal and with his house this day, then rejoice ye in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech and devour the men of Shechem and the house of Millo. And let fire come out from the men of Shechem and from the house of Millo and devour Abimelech.
And Jotham ran away and fled and went to Beer and dwelt there for fear of Abimelech his brother. When Abimelech had reigned 3 years over Israel, then God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. And the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech, that the cruelty done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and their blood be laid upon Abimelech their brother, which slew them, and upon the men of Shechem, which aided him in the killing of his brethren. And the men of Shechem set liers in wait for him in the top of the mountains. And they robbed all that came along that way by them, and it was told Abimelech. And Gaal the son of Ebed came with his brethren, and went over to Shechem, and the men of Shechem put their confidence in him. And they went out into the fields, and gathered their vineyards, and trode the grapes, and made merry, and went into the house of their God, and did eat and drink, and cursed Abimelech. And Gaal the son of Ebed said,
Who is Abimelech, and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is not he the son of Jerubbaal, and Zebul his officer? Serve the men of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for why should we serve him? And would to God this people were under my hand, then would I remove Abimelech.
And he said to Abimelech,
Increase thine army, and come out.
And when Zebul the ruler of the city heard the words of Gaal the son of Ebed, his anger was kindled. And he sent messengers unto Abimelech privily, saying,
Behold, Gaal the son of Ebed and his brethren be come to Shechem, and behold, they fortify the city against thee. Now therefore, up by night, thou and the people that is with thee, and lie in wait in the field. And it shall be that in the morning, as soon as the sun is up, thou shalt rise early, and set upon the city. And behold, when he and the people that is with him come out against thee, then mayest thou do to them as thou shalt find occasion.
And Abimelech rose up, and all the people that were with him by night, and they laid wait against Shechem in 4 companies. And Gaal the son of Ebed went out, and stood in the entering of the gate of the city. And Abimelech rose up, and the people that were with him from lying in wait. And when Gaal saw the people, he said to Zebul,
Behold, there come people down from the top of the mountains.
And Zebul said unto him,
Thou seest the shadow of the mountains as if they were men.
And Gaal spake again and said,
See, there come people down by the middle of the land, and another company come along by the plain of Meonanim.
Then said Zebul unto him,
Where is now thy mouth, wherewith thou saidst, Who is Abimelech that we should serve him? Is not this the people that thou hast despised? Go out, I pray now, and fight with them.
And Gaal went out before the men of Shechem, and fought with Abimelech. And Abimelech chased him, and he fled before him, and many were overthrown and wounded, even unto the entering of the gate. And Abimelech dwelt at Arumah, and Zebul thrust out Gaal and his brethren, that they should not dwell in Shechem. And it came to pass on the morrow that the people went out into the field, and they told Abimelech. And he took the people and divided them into 3 companies, and laid wait in the field, and looked, and behold, the people were come forth out of the city. And he rose up against them and smote them. And Abimelech and the company that was with him rushed forward, and stood in the entering of the gate of the city. And the 2 other companies ran upon all the people that were in the fields, and slew them. And Abimelech fought against the city all that day. And he took the city, and slew the people that was therein, and beat down the city, and sowed it with salt. And when all the men of the tower of Shechem heard that, they entered into an hold of the house of the god Beerith. And it was told Abimelech that all the men of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. And Abimelech gat him up to Mount Zalmon, he and all the people that were with him. And Abimelech took an axe in his hand, and cut down a bough from the trees, and took it and laid it on his shoulder, and said unto the people that were with him,
What ye have seen me do, make haste, and do as I have done.
And all the people likewise cut down every man his bough, and followed Abimelech, and put them to the hold, and set the hold on fire upon them. So that all the men of the tower of Shechem died also, about 1,000 men and women. Then went Abimelech to Thebez, and encamped against Thebez, and took it. Judges. But there was a strong tower within the city. And after Abimelech fled all the men and women, and all Israel, the city, the son of Pua, the son of Dodo, and gat them a man of Issachar, the tower. And he dwelt in Abimelech came unto the tower, and fought against it, and went hard unto the door of the tower to burn it with fire, and was buried in Shamer. And a certain woman cast after him arose Jair, a Gileadite, and judged Israel 22 years. And he had 30 sons that rode on 30 young men, his armor-bearer. And they had 30 cities, which are called Havoth-Jair unto this day, which are in the land of Gilead.
Men say
and
not
Jair
of me,
died and was buried in Canaan.
Slew him.
And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and served Baalim and Ashtaroth. And when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man unto the children of Ammon. And the gods of the Philistines rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father, in slaying his 70 brethren. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel. And all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, and into the hands of the children of Ammon. The curse of Jotham, and that year they vexed and oppressed the children of Israel. 18 years all the children of Israel that were on the other side Jordan, in the land of the Amorites, which is in Gilead. Moreover, the children of Ammon passed over Jordan to fight also against Judah, and against Benjamin, and against the house of Ephraim, so that Israel was sore distressed. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, saying,
We have sinned against thee, both because we have forsaken our God, and also served Baalim.
And the Lord said unto the children of Israel,
Did not I deliver you from the Egyptians, and from the Amorites, from the children of Ammon, and from the Philistines? The Zidonians also, and the Amalekites, and the Maonites did oppress you. And ye cried to me, and I delivered you out of their hand. Yet ye have forsaken me, and served other gods.
Chapter 11.
Wherefore I will deliver you no more.
Now Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty man of valor, and he was the son of an harlot.
Let them deliver
and
you
Gilead
in the time
begat
of your
Jephthah.
tribulation.
And Gilead's wife bare him
the
children
sons,
of Israel,
and his
said
wife's
unto the
sons
Lord, grew up, and they thrust out Jephthah, and said unto him,
Thou unto us
Thou shalt not inherit in our father's house,
Deliver us
for thou art
only,
the son
we
of a
pray thee,
strange
this
woman.
day.
Then they put away the strange brethren, and dwelt among them, and served the Lord. And there were gathered vain men to Jephthah, and went out with him. Then the children of Ammon were gathered together, and encamped. The children of Ammon made war against Israel. And the children of Israel assembled themselves together, and encamped. When the children of Ammon made war against Israel, and the princes of Gilead went to fetch Jephthah out of the land of Tob.
What man is he that will begin to fight against the children of Ammon?
Come and be our
He shall
captain,
be head over
that we
all
may
the
fight
inhabitants
with the
of
children
Gilead.
of Ammon.
And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead,
Did not ye hate me, and expel me out of my father's house? And why are ye coming to me now when ye are in distress?
And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah,
Therefore we turn again to thee now, that thou mayst go with us and fight against the children of Ammon, and be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead.
And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead,
If ye bring me home again to fight against the children of Ammon, and the Lord deliver them before me, shall I be your head?
And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah,
The Lord be witness between us if we do not so according to thy words.
Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and captain over them. And Jephthah uttered all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. And Jephthah sent messengers unto the king of the children of Ammon, saying,
What hast thou to do with me that thou art come against me to fight in my land?
And the king of the children of Ammon answered unto the messengers of Jephthah,
Because Israel took away my land, when they came up out of Egypt, from Arnon even unto Jabbok, and unto Jordan. Now therefore restore those lands again peaceably.
And Jephthah sent messengers again unto the king of the children of Ammon, and said unto him,
Thus saith Jephthah, Israel took not away the land of Moab, nor the land of the children of Ammon. But when Israel came up from Egypt and walked through the wilderness unto the Red Sea and came to Kadesh, then Israel sent messengers unto the king of Edom, saying, Let me, I pray thee, pass through thy land. But the king of Edom would not hearken thereto. And in like manner they sent unto the king of Moab, but he would not consent. And Israel abode in Kadesh. Then they went along through the wilderness, and compassed the land of Edom, and the land of Moab, and came by the east side of the land of Moab, and pitched on the other side of Arnon, but came not within the border of Moab, for Arnon was the border of Moab. And Israel sent messengers unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, the king of Heshbon. And Israel said unto him, Let us pass, we pray thee, through thy land into my place. But Sihon trusted not Israel to pass through his coast. But Sihon gathered all his people together, and pitched in Jahaz, and fought against Israel. And the Lord God of Israel delivered Sihon and all his people into the hand of Israel, and they smote them, so Israel possessed all the land of the Amorites, the inhabitants of that country. And they possessed all the coasts of the Amorites, from Arnon even unto Jabbok, and from the wilderness even unto Jordan. So now the Lord God of Israel hath dispossessed the Amorites from before his people Israel. And shouldest thou possess it? Wilt not thou possess that which Chemosh thy God giveth thee to possess? So whomsoever the Lord our God shall drive out from before us, them will we possess. And now art thou anything better than Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he ever strive against Israel, or did he ever fight against them while Israel dwelt in Heshbon and her towns, and in Aroer and her towns, and in all the cities that be along by the coast of Arnon 300 years? Why therefore did ye not recover them within that time? Wherefore I have not sinned against thee, but thou doest me wrong to war against me. The Lord the judge be judged this day between the children of Israel and the children of Ammon.
Howbeit the king of the children of Ammon hearkened not unto the words of Jephthah which he sent him. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he passed over Gilead and Manasseh, and passed over Mizpah of Gilead. And from Mizpah of Gilead he passed over unto the children of Ammon. And Jephthah vowed a vow unto the Lord, and said,
If thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into mine hands, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering.
So Jephthah passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hands. And he smote them from Aroer, even till thou come to Minnith, even 20 cities, and unto the plain of the vineyards with a very great slaughter. Thus the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. And Jephthah came to Mizpah unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances, and she was his only child. Beside her he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass, when he saw her, that he rent his clothes, and said,
Alas, my daughter! Thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me. For I have opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I cannot go back.
And she said unto him, chapter 12,
My father, if thou
And the men of
hast
Ephraim
opened thy
gathered
mouth
themselves
unto the
together,
Lord,
and went northward, and
do
said
to
unto
me
Jephthah,
according to that which hath
Wherefore
proceeded
passest thou
out of
over
thy
to
mouth.
fight against the
For
children
as
of
much as the
Ammon,
Lord
and
hath
didst
taken
not call
vengeance
us
for
to
thee
go
of thine
with thee?
enemies,
We
even of
will
the children
burn
of
thine
Ammon.
house upon thee with
And
fire.
she said unto her father, and Jephthah
Let
said
this
unto
thing
them,
be done for me.
I and my
Let me
people were
alone
at great
2
strife
months,
with the children of
that I
Ammon.
may go up and
And
down
when I
upon
called
the
you,
mountains,
ye delivered me
and
not out of their
bewail my
hands.
virginity,
And when I
and
saw
my
that ye
fellows.
delivered me not, I
And
put
he
my
said,
life in my hands,
Go!
and passed over against the
And he
children
sent
of
her
Ammon.
away for 2
and
months.
the Lord
And she
delivered
went with
them
her
into my
companions,
hand.
and bewailed her
Wherefore then are
virginity
ye come
upon the
up against
mountains.
unto me this day to
And
fight
it came
against
to pass
me.
at the end of 2 months, then that
Jephthah
she returned
gathered
unto her
together
father
all the men
who
of
did with
Gilead
her
and
according
fought
to
with
the
Ephraim.
vow which he
And the
had
men of
vowed.
Gilead
And
smote
she knew
Ephraim
not,
then.
because they said, and it was a custom in
Ye
Israel, that the
Gileadites are
daughters of
fugitives
Israel
of
went
Ephraim,
yearly to lament
among
the
the
daughter of Jephthah
Ephraimites,
the Gileadite
and among the
4 days
Manassites.
in a year. And the Gileadites took the passages of Jordan before the Ephraimites. And it was so that when those Ephraimites which were escaped said,
Let me go over,
that the men of Gilead said unto him,
Art thou an Ephraimite?
If he said,
Nay.
Then said they unto him,
Say now, Shibboleth.
And he said,
Sibboleth?
For he could not frame to pronounce it right. Then they took him and slew him at the passages of Jordan, and there fell at that time of the Ephraimites 42,000. And Jephthah judged Israel 6 years. Then died Jephthah the Gileadite, and was buried in one of the cities of Gilead. And after him Ibzan of Bethlehem judged Israel. And he had 30 sons, and 30 daughters whom he sent abroad, and took in 30 daughters from abroad for his sons. And he judged Israel 7 years. Then died Ibzan, and was buried at Bethlehem. Judges chapter 13. And after him Elon a Zebulunite, and the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines, and was buried in 40 years in the country of Zebulun. And there was a certain man of Zorah, after him the family of the son of Hillel, whose name was Manoah, judged and Israel. His wife was barren, and he had 40 sons and 30 nephews. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Colts.
Behold,
and he judged Israel 8
barren,
years.
And bearest not.
And Abdon the son of Hillel the Pirathonite died, and was buried in Pirathon in the land of Ephraim, in the mount of the Amalekites.
And drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive, and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb. And he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines.
Then the woman came and told her husband, saying,
A man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son. And now drink no wine nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing. For the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death.
Then Manoah entreated the Lord and said,
O my Lord, let the man of God which thou didst send come again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child that shall be born.
And God hearkened to the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God came again unto the woman as she sat in the field. But Manoah her husband was not with her. And the woman made haste and ran, and showed her husband, and said unto him,
Behold, the man hath appeared unto me that came unto me the other day.
And Manoah arose and went after his wife, and came to the man, and said unto him,
Art thou the man that spakest unto the woman?
And he said,
I am.
And Manoah said,
Now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child, and how shall we do unto him?
And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah,
Of all that I said unto the woman, let her beware. She may not eat of anything that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. All that I commanded her, let her observe.
And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord,
I pray thee, let us detain thee until we shall have made ready a kid for thee.
And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah,
Though thou detain me, I will not eat of thy bread. And if thou wilt offer a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto the Lord.
For Manoah knew not that he was an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord,
What is thy name, that when thy sayings come to pass we may do thee honor?
And the angel of the Lord said unto him,
Why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it is secret?
So Manoah took a kid with a meat offering, and offered it upon a rock unto the Lord. And the angel did wondrously, and Manoah and his wife looked on. For it came to pass, when the flame went up toward heaven from the altar, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar. And Manoah and his wife looked on it, and fell on their faces to the ground. But the angel of the Lord did no more appear to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto his wife,
We shall surely die, because we have seen God.
But his wife said unto him,
If the Lord were pleased to kill us, he would not have received a burnt offering and a meat offering at our hands. Neither would he have showed us all these things, nor would as at this time have told us such things as these.
And the woman bare a son, and called his name Samson. And the child grew, Judges, and the Lord blessed chapter him. 14. And the Spirit of the Lord began to move Samson him at went down to Timnath in the camp of Dan, a woman between Zorah and Eshtaol, of the daughters of the Philistines. And he came up and told his father and his mother, and said,
I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife.
Then his father and his mother said unto him,
Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines?
And Samson said unto his father,
Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well.
But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord, that he sought an occasion against the Philistines. For at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. Then went Samson down, and his father and his mother, to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath. And behold, a young lion roared against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid, and he had nothing in his hand. But he told not his father or his mother what he had done. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. And after a time he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, and behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. And he took thereof in his hands, and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do. And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said unto them,
I will now put forth a riddle unto you. If ye can certainly declare it me within the 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I will give you 30 sheets and 30 change of garments. But if ye cannot declare it to me, then shall ye give me 30 sheets and 30 change of garments.
And they said unto him,
Put forth thy riddle, that we may hear it.
And he said unto them,
Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness.
And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife,
Entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have ye called us to take that we have? Is it not so?
And Samson's wife wept before him, and said,
Thou dost but hate me, and lovest me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and hast not told it me.
And he said unto her,
Behold, I have not told it my father nor my mother, and shall I tell it thee?
And she wept before him the 7 days while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him. And she told the riddle to the children of her people. And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day, before the sun went down,
What is sweeter than honey? And what is stronger than a
Judges
lion?
chapter 15. And he said unto them, But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. And he went down to Ashkelon, and slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them, her father which expounded the riddle.
I verily
and his
thought
anger
that
was
thou
kindled,
hadst
and he went up
utterly
to his
hated her.
father's house.
Therefore I gave her
But
to thy
Samson's
companion.
wife was given to his companion,
Is not her
whom
younger
he had
sister
used
fairer
as
than
his
she?
friend.
Take her, I pray thee, instead of her.
And Samson said concerning them,
Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure.
And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between 2 tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let them go into the standing corn of the Philistines, and burnt up both the shocks and also the standing corn, with the vineyards and olives. Then the Philistines said,
Who hath done this?
And they answered,
Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite. because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion.
And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire. And Samson said unto them,
Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease.
And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter, and he went down and dwelt in the top of the rock Etam. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said,
Why are ye come up against us?
And they answered,
To bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he hath done to us.
Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Etam, and said to Samson,
Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us?
And he said unto them,
As they did unto me, so have I done unto them.
And they said unto him,
We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines.
And Samson said unto them,
Swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves.
And they spake unto him, saying,
No, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand, but surely we will not kill thee.
And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. And when he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said,
With the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men.
And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called the place Ramoth-Lehi. And he was sore athirst, and called on the Lord, and said,
Thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die
Judges,
for thirst, and
chapter
fall into
16.
the hand of the uncircumcised?
Then went Samson
But
to
God
Gaza,
clave
and
an
saw there
hollow
an
place
harlot
that was in the
and
jaw,
went in unto her.
and
there came water thereout. And it was told the
And when he
Gazites,
had
saying,
drunk,
his spirit came again,
Samson is come
and he
hither.
revived, wherefore he
And
called
they
the name
compassed him
thereof,
in,
and laid wait for
which
him
is in
all
Lehi
night
on the
unto
gate
this
of the
day.
city.
And were
And he
quiet
judged
all the
Israel
night
in the
saying,
days
of the Philistines
In the
20
morning, when
years.
it is day, we shall kill him.
And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city and the 2 posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of an hill that is before Hebron. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and said unto her,
Entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him. And we will give thee, every one of us, 1,100 pieces of silver.
And Delilah said to Samson,
Tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee.
And Samson said unto her,
If they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dried, then shall I be weak, and be as another man.
Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green withs, which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto him,
The Philistines be upon thee, Samson.
And he brake the withs, as a thread of tow is broken when it toucheth the fire. So his strength was not known. And Delilah said unto Samson,
Behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound.
And he said unto her,
If they bind me fast with new ropes that never were occupied, then shall I be weak, and be as another man.
Delilah therefore took new ropes, and bound him therewith, and said unto him,
The Philistines be upon thee, Samson.
And there were liers in wait abiding in the chamber, and he brake them from off his arms like a thread. And Delilah said unto Samson,
Hitherto thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound.
And he said unto her,
If thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web.
And she fastened it with the pin, and said unto him,
The Philistines be upon thee, Samson.
And he awaked out of his sleep, and went away with the pin of the beam and with the web. And she said unto him,
How canst thou say I love thee, when thine heart is not with me? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth.
And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words, and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death, that he told her all his heart, and said unto her,
There hath not come a razor upon mine head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak, and be like any other man.
And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying,
Come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart.
Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and brought money in their hand. And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. And she said,
The Philistines be upon thee, Samson.
And he awoke out of his sleep, and said,
I will go out as at other times before, and shake myself.
And he wist not that the Lord was departed from him. But the Philistines took him, and put out his eyes, and brought him down to Gaza, and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. Howbeit the hair of his head began to grow again after he was shaven. Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together, for to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their god, and to rejoice, for they said,
Our God hath delivered Samson our enemy into our hand.
Judges chapter 18. And when the people saw him, they praised their God. In those days there was no king in Israel. And in those days the tribe of the Danites sought them an inheritance to dwell in. For unto that day all their inheritance hath not fallen unto them among the tribes of Israel. And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, and the children of Dan sent of their family 5 men from their coasts, men of valor, from Zorah and from Eshtaol. And they called for Samson out of the prison house. And he made them sport, and they set him between the pillars. And Samson, when they came to Mount Ephraim, to the house of Micah, they lodged there.
Suffer me, that I
when
may
they were by
fill
the house of
pillars,
Micah, they knew the voice of the young man, the Levite. And they turned in thither, and said unto him, Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport.
And hath hired me.
And Samson called unto the Lord, and said, and they said unto him,
O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee,
God, that we may
and
know
strengthen
whether
me,
our way
I pray
which we
thee,
go shall
only
be
this
prosperous.
once, O God,
And the priest
that
said unto
I
them,
may be at once
Go in
avenged of the
peace.
Philistines
Before the Lord
for
is
my
your way,
2
wherein you
eyes.
go.
And Samson took hold of men departed, and came to Laish, upon which the house stood, and saw the people that were therein, how they dwelt, the one with his right hand, after the manner of the other with his left, quiet and Samson said, And there was no magistrate in the land that might put them to shame in anything. And he bound himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords, and upon all the people that were therein, brethren, to Zorah. So the dead which he slew at his death said unto them, were more than they which he slew in his life. And they said, Then his brethren and all the house of his father came down, and took him and brought him up, and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the burying place of Manoah his father.
Slothful to go
And he
and to
judged
enter to
Israel
possess the
20
land?
years.
When ye go, ye shall come into a people secure, and to a large land, for God hath given it into your hands, a place where there is no want of anything that is in the earth.
And there went from thence of the family of the Danites, out of Zorah and out of Eshtaol, 600 men appointed with weapons of war. And they went up and pitched in Kirjath-jearim in Judah, wherefore they called that place Mahanadan unto this day. Behold, it is behind Kirjath-jearim. And they passed thence unto Mount Ephraim, and came unto the house of Micah. Then answered the 5 men that went to spy out the country of Laish, and said unto their brethren,
Do ye know that there is in these houses an ephod and teraphim, and a graven image and a molten image? Now therefore consider what ye have to do.
And they turned thitherward, and came to the house of the young man the Levite, even unto the house of Micah, and saluted him. And the 600 men appointed with their weapons of war, which were of the children of Dan, stood by the entering of the gate. And the 5 men that went to spy out the land went up, and came in thither, and took the graven image, and the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. And the priest stood in the entering of the gate with the 600 men that were appointed with weapons of war. And these went into Micah's house, and fetched the carved image, the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. Then said the priest unto them,
What do ye?
And they said unto him,
Hold thy peace, lay thine hand upon thy mouth, and go with us, and be to us a father and a priest. Is it better for thee to be a priest unto the house of one man, or that thou be a priest unto a tribe and a family in Israel?
And the priest's heart was glad. And he took the ephod and the teraphim and the graven image, and went in the midst of the people. So they turned and departed, and put the little ones and the cattle and the carriage before them. And when they were a good way from the house of Micah, the men that were in the houses near to Micah's house were gathered together, and overtook the children of Dan. And they cried unto the children of Dan. And they turned their faces, and said unto Micah,
What aileth thee that thou comest with such a company?
And he said,
Ye have taken away my gods which I made, and the priest, and ye are gone away. And what have I more? And what is this that ye say unto me? What aileth thee?
And the children of Dan said unto him,
Let not thy voice be heard among us, lest angry fellows run upon thee, and thou lose thy life with the lives of thy household.
And the children of Dan went their way. And when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back unto his house. And they took the things which Micah had made, and the priest which he had, and came unto Laish, unto the people that were at quiet and secure. And they smote them with the edge of the sword, and burnt the city with fire. And there was no deliverer, because it was far from Zidon, and they had no business with any man. And it was in the valley that lieth by Beth Rehob. And they built a city, and dwelt therein. Chapter 19. And they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan their father, when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain name of the city sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took to him a concubine, set up the graven image. And Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, and went away from him unto her father's house, to the tribe of Dan, Judah, until the day of the captivity of the land. And her husband arose and went after her to speak friendly unto her, all the time and to bring her again, having her servant with him and a couple of asses. And she brought him into her father's house. And when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him. And his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him, and he abode with him 3 days. So they did eat and drink and lodge there. And it came to pass on the 4th day, when they arose early in the morning, that he rose up to depart. And the damsel's father said unto his son-in-law,
Comfort thine heart with a morsel of bread, and afterward go your way.
And they sat down, and did eat and drink both of them together. For the damsel's father had said unto the man,
Be content, I pray thee, and tarry all night, and let thine heart be merry.
And when the man rose up to depart, his father-in-law urged him. Therefore he lodged there again. And he arose early in the morning on the 5th day to depart. And the damsel's father said,
Comfort thine heart, I pray thee.
And they tarried until afternoon, and they did eat both of them. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him,
Behold, now the day draweth toward evening. I pray you, tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end. Lodge here, that thine heart may be merry. And tomorrow get you early on your way, that thou mayest go home.
But the man would not tarry that night, but he rose up and departed, and came over against Jebus, which is Jerusalem. And there were with him 2 asses saddled. His concubine also was with him. And when they were by Jebus, the day was far spent. And the servant said unto his master,
Come, I pray thee,
and let us turn into this city of the Jebusites, and lodge in it.
And his master said unto him,
We will not turn aside hither into the city of a stranger that is not of the children of Israel. We will pass over to Gibeah.
And he said unto his servant,
Come, and let us draw near to one of these places to lodge all night, in Gibeah or in Ramah.
And they passed on and went their way. And the sun went down upon them when they were by Gibeah, which belongeth to Benjamin. And they turned aside thither to go in and to lodge in Gibeah. And when he went in, he sat him down in a street of the city, for there was no man that took them into his house to lodging. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at even, which was also of Mount Ephraim. And he sojourned in Gibeah, but the men of the place were Benjamites. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city. And the old man said,
Whither goest thou, and whence comest thou?
And he said unto him,
We are passing from Bethlehem, Judah, toward the side of Mount Ephraim. From thence am I. And I went to Bethlehem, Judah, but I am now going to the house of the Lord, and there is no man that receiveth me to house. Yet there is both straw and provender for our asses, and there is bread and wine also for me, and for thy handmaid, and for the young man which is with thy servants. There is no want of anything.
And the old man said,
Peace be with thee. Howsoever let all thy wants lie upon me, only lodge not in the street.
So he brought him into his house, and gave provender unto the asses, and they washed their feet, and did eat and drink. Now as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying,
Bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him.
And the man, the master of the house, went out unto them, and said unto them,
Nay, my brethren, nay, I pray you, do not so wickedly. Seeing that this man is come into mine house, do not this folly. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them I will bring out now, and humble ye them, and do with them what seemeth good unto you. But unto this man do not so vile a thing.
But the men would not hearken to him. So the man took his concubine, and brought her forth unto them. And they knew her, and abused her all the night until morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. Then came the woman in the dawning of the day, and fell down at the door of the man's house, where her lord was, till it was light. And her lord rose up in the morning, and opened the doors of the house, and went out to go his way. And behold, the woman his concubine was fallen down at the door of the house, and her hands were upon the threshold. And he said unto her,
Up, and let us be going.
But none answered. Then the man took her upon an ass, and the man rose up, and gat him unto his place. And when he was come into his house, he took a knife, and laid hold on his concubine, and divided her, together with her bones, into 12 pieces, and sent her into all the coasts of Israel. Chapter 20. And it was so that all that saw the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was gathered together as one man from Dan even to Beersheba, with the land of Gilead, unto the Lord in Mizpah.
Consider of it. Take
and the
advice
chief of all
and
the people,
speak
even
your
of all the
minds.
tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 footmen that drew sword. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel were gone up to Mizpah. Then said the children of Israel,
Tell us, how was this wickedness?
And the Levite, the husband of the woman that was slain, answered and said,
I came into Gibeah that belongeth to Benjamin, I and my concubine to lodge. And the men of Gibeah rose against me, and beset the house round about upon me by night, and thought to have slain me. And my concubine have they forced that she is dead. And I took my concubine, and cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the country of the inheritance of Israel. For they have committed lewdness and folly in Israel. Behold, ye are all children of Israel. Give here your advice and counsel.
And all the people arose as one man, saying,
We will not any of us go to his tent, neither will we any of us turn into his house. But now this shall be the thing which we will do to Gibeah. we will go up by lot against it, and we will take 10 men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000, to fetch victual for the people, that they may do when they come to Gibeah of Benjamin, according to all the folly that they have wrought in Israel.
So all the men of Israel were gathered against the city, knit together as one man. And the tribes of Israel sent men through all the tribe of Benjamin, saying,
What wickedness is this that is done among you? Now therefore deliver us the men, the children of Belial, which are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death, and put away evil from Israel.
But the children of Benjamin would not hearken to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. But the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together out of the cities unto Gibeah, to go out to battle against the children of Israel. And the children of Benjamin were numbered at that time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew sword, beside the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. Among all this people there were 700 chosen men left-handed. Every one could sling stones at an hairbreadth, and not miss. And the men of Israel beside Benjamin were numbered 400,000 men that drew sword. All these were men of war. And the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God, and asked counsel of God, and said,
Which of us shall go up first to the battle against the children of Benjamin?
And the Lord said,
Judah shall go up first.
And the children of Israel rose up in the morning, and encamped against Gibeah. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin. And the men of Israel put themselves in array to fight against them at Gibeah. And the children of Benjamin came forth out of Gibeah, and destroyed down to the ground of the Israelites that day 22,000 men. And the people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves, and set their battle again in array, in the place where they put themselves in array the first day. And the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until even, and asked counsel of the Lord, saying,
Shall I go up again to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother?
And the Lord said,
Go up against him.
And the children of Israel came near against the children of Benjamin the second day. And Benjamin went forth against them out of Gibeah the second day, and destroyed down to the ground of the children of Israel again 18,000 men. All these drew the sword. Then all the children of Israel and all the people went up and came unto the house of God, and wept, and sat there before the Lord, and fasted that day until even, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And the children of Israel inquired of the Lord, for the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it in those days, saying,
Shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin my brother, or shall I cease?
And the Lord said,
Go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hand.
And Israel set liers in wait round about Gibeah. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the third day, and put themselves in array against Gibeah as at other times. And the children of Benjamin went out against the people, and were drawn away from the city. And they began to smite of the people, and kill as at other times in the highways, of which one goeth up to the house of God, and the other to Gibeah in the field, about 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said,
They are smitten down before us as at the first.
But the children of Israel said,
Let us flee, and draw them from the city unto the highways.
And all the men of Israel rose up out of their place, and put themselves in array at Baal-Tamar. And the liers in wait of Israel came forth out of their places, even out of the meadows of Gibeah. And there came against Gibeah 10,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and the battle was sore, but they knew not that evil was near them. And the Lord smote Benjamin before Israel, and the children of Israel destroyed of the Benjamites that day 25,100 men. All these drew the sword. So the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave place to the Benjaminites, because they trusted unto the liers in wait which they had set beside Gibeah. And the liers in wait hasted and rushed upon Gibeah, and the liers in wait drew themselves along, and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. Now there was an appointed sign between the men of Israel and the liers in wait, that they should make a great flame with smoke rise up out of the city. And when the men of Israel retired in the battle, Benjamin began to smite and kill of the men of Israel about 30 persons. For they said,
"Surely they are smitten down before us as in the first battle."
But when the flame began to arise up out of the city with a pillar of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and behold, the flame of the city ascended up to heaven. And when the men of Israel turned again, the men of Benjamin were amazed, for they saw that evil was come upon them. Therefore they turned their backs before the men of Israel unto the way of the wilderness. But the battle overtook them, and them which came out of the cities they destroyed in the midst of them. Thus they enclosed the Benjamites round about, and chased them and trode them down with ease over against Gibeah toward the sunrise. Judges. And there fell of Benjamin 18,000 men. Now the men of Israel had sworn in Mizpah, saying, and they turned and fled toward the wilderness unto the rock of Rimmon. And they gleaned of them in the highways 5,000 men. And the people came to the house hard after them, unto guide them, and slew 2,000 men of them, and lifted up their voices and wept that day. And Benjamin were 20 and 5,000 men that drew the sword.
Why
All
is this
these
come
were
to
men of
pass
valor.
in Israel, that there
But
should be
600
today
men
one
turned
tribe
and fled to the
lacking in
wilderness
Israel?
unto the rock Rimmon. And it came to pass on the rock Rimmon that the people rose early, and the men of Israel turned again upon the children of Benjamin, and smote them with the children of Israel, as well the men of every city, as
all
the
the tribes of
and all
Israel
that came to hand.
that came not up with
Also
the
they set on
congregation unto
fire
the Lord.
all the cities that they came to. For they had made a great oath concerning him that came not up to the Lord to Mizpah, saying,
"He shall surely be put to death."
And the children of Israel repented them for Benjamin their brother, and said,
There is one tribe cut off from Israel this day. How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them of our daughters to wives?
And they said,
What one is there of the tribes of Israel that came not up to Mizpah to the Lord?
And behold, there came none to the camp from Jabesh-Gilead to the assembly. For the people were numbered, and behold, there were none of the inhabitants of Jabesh-Gilead there. And the congregation sent thither 12,000 men of the valiantest, and commanded them, saying,
Go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh-Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the women and the children. And this is the thing that ye shall do. Ye shall utterly destroy every male and every woman that hath lain by man.
And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh-Gilead 400 young virgins, that had known no man by lying with any male. And they brought them unto the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. And the whole congregation sent some to speak to the children of Benjamin that were in the rock Rimmon, and to call peaceably unto them. And Benjamin came again at that time, and they gave them wives which they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh-Gilead, and yet so they sufficed them not. And the people repented them for Benjamin, because that the Lord had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. Then the elders of the congregation said,
How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing the women are destroyed out of Benjamin?
And they said,
There must be an inheritance for them that be escaped of Benjamin, that a tribe be not destroyed out of Israel.
Howbeit, we may not give them wives of our daughters. For the children of Israel have sworn, saying, Cursed be he that giveth a wife to Benjamin.
Then they said,
Behold, there is a feast of the Lord in Shiloh yearly, in a place which is on the north side of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goeth up from Bethel to Shechem, and on the south of Lebanon.
Therefore they commanded the children of Benjamin, saying,
Go and lie in wait in the vineyards, and see and behold if the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in dances. Then come ye out of the vineyards, and catch you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. And it shall be, when their fathers or their brethren come unto us to complain, that we will say unto them, Be favorable unto them for our sakes, because we reserve not to each man his wife in the war. For ye did not give unto them at this time, that ye should be guilty.
And the children of Benjamin did so, and took them wives according to their number of them that danced, whom they caught. And they went and returned unto their inheritance, and repaired the cities, and dwelt in them. And the children of Israel departed thence at that time, every man to his tribe and to his family. And they went out from thence, every man to his inheritance. In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes.